How often did you have a day when you're eating clean, staying within the calorie deficit the whole time, everything goes perfectly until the evening? Or when you plan to finish all of the assignments after the gym but somehow you end up scrolling for hours instead? Those moments are irritating. We don't even feel like ourselves. It's almost as if someone else made a decision for us. But what if I tell you you're not that far from the truth? Because sometimes we're not fully responsible for our decisions. Our brain is. The decision system in our brain can be split into two parts. The first one is executive system. It activates when we're starting something new, challenging, or goal-oriented. That's when your brain consciously chooses effort, studying instead of scrolling, go to the gym, or starting a new healthy habit. The second one is the habitual system. It runs already learned patterns automatically and efficiently. This is the reason you can walk home with no problems while thinking about something else. Your brain already knows the route. Those systems are so different that they are controlled by different areas of the brain. When your prefrontal cortex is active, you can make thoughtful decisions, resist impulses, and analyze your options. But when it gets tired, the basal ganglia, which is responsible for the habits and automatic responses, takes the wheel. But how exactly does your brain decide which system to use? That's where meta decision making comes in. Every time you face a choice, your brain quickly evaluates it. It simulates possible outcomes and estimates how much extra mental effort each of them require. Along with that, it calculates the cost of using these limited executive resources. After that, it estimates the reward that you can possibly get after completing each of those outcomes. If the potential reward isn't big enough to justify the effort, the brain chooses to use the habitual system, or automatic response. And here is something important. Automatic doesn't always mean lazy, bad, or simple. It simply means familiar. Depending on your habits, your automatic response can either help you or harm you. This system seems like it works great, until it doesn't. By the evening, the cost of making a thoughtful decision is evaluated much higher, and as a result, the habitual system takes over. The reason behind that is the ego depletion. Our willpower is limited. Think of it as a battery. Each decision we make, from what to wear to what to eat, drains our prefrontal cortex just a little. By the end of the day, after making hundreds of important and not as much decisions, it's tired and the brain naturally switches to the habitual system. That's when you start operating on autopilot, choosing comfort instead of long-term goals. Ego depletion explains why you overeat, procrastinate, or overspend even though you swore you wouldn't. And to make it even worse, when you're tired, your brain is more vulnerable to the cognitive biases. So, how do you return control back to you instead of letting the tired brain ruin all of your goals? I have three main strategies for that. The repeated behavior strengthens the corticostriatal loops, neutral pathways connecting the prefrontal cortex and the basal ganglia. In simple terms, every time you repeat an action, you make it easier for your brain to do it automatically next time. The more you practice a certain behavior, the less mental energy it requires. For example, 2 months ago, I started a habit of reading at least one page before bed. At first, I had to remind myself every night. The effort felt noticeable. But because it was just one page, the cost was tiny, and I stayed consistent. Now, every evening, I automatically grab my iPad and go to the bed to open the book. I don't even notice how I do that, so it's extremely easy for me to start reading the book. No mental debate required here. The second strategy is to reduce the decision fatigue by pre-planning less important tasks. For example, instead of deciding what to wear or what to eat every morning, plan those things ahead. Weekly meal plan, outfit batching, or study schedule templates. Every unnecessary decision you remove gives your executive system more room for the important ones. You're not limiting your freedom, you're protecting your focus. And my favorite technique, the Ulysses Contract. It's a strategy where you intentionally remove the option of making the wrong decision later. For example, if you know that after classes you're going to be tempted to scroll on your phone instead of doing an important assignment, ask your friend to set a passcode on your social apps so you can't access them. Now your only available choice is a productive one. You can use this idea everywhere. Sign up for gym classes that charge you if you skip them. Don't buy calorie snacks or junk food so you won't have them at home. Or make deals with friends to go to the gym together. And nowadays, it's extremely easy to design your own version of Ulysses Contract for your situation, knowing your exact habits and weaknesses. Simply write a prompt to ChatGPT describing your situation, and here it is. Just make sure to do it in the morning, when you're still aligned with your goals. I was actually debating if I should add this tip or not until very last moment. But while editing this video, I realized that probably I use the tip the most out of all of them. It's about reprogramming your brain and understanding why you're choosing to do the specific action consciously. Most of us start a new habit just because we should. We should save money, we should go to the gym, we should learn something new. But as we already revised before, the brain doesn't really care about what we should. It cares about costs and results. Before starting anything new, whether it's a habit, task, or just a small daily action, you should clearly define why you're doing it. When we skip the steps, the brain treats the effort as something random or forced. But when we define the reason behind it, our brain sees the purpose. It recognizes this effort has the value. After hearing the information from this video, it is clear that most of the time we fail to stay consistent not because the habit or action is too hard, but because our brain doesn't see enough reason to spend the energy on it. So before you start, remind yourself why are you doing it? Not in a general way, not how most of the people do it, but the exact personal reason you have behind starting this habit, action, or task. When you make this connection clear, the effort feels smaller, almost natural, because your brain stops focusing on the energy it spends and starts focusing on the reward it gets. In my opinion, it's also a nice reflection checkpoint to clarify is the direction where you're moving actually aligns with your goals and your vision of your future. And a lot of people actually need the constant reminders of that reward. It is as important as initially defining it. For example, is your goal to save money for something but you tend to spend it impulsively? Print a photo of what you're saving for and keep it somewhere visible. You can even put it on your lock screen so you see it every time before you use the Apple Pay. As a result, every time you look at it, your brain will recall the reward of putting effort into consciously choosing to not do the impulsive purchases. The same logic applies to any other goal, whether it's getting stronger, eating healthier, or studying more. So, before starting anything new, take a second to define your personal why. That was the video, guys. At the end of the day, your brain isn't against you. It simply follows the path you trained it to take. You can't always control your first impulse, but you can train it to make better automatic choices. Tell me in the comments which one of those three techniques you're going to use first, or do you already have one of your own? And don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more content about productivity, habits, and health. Bye!